Good afternoon, everyone. You'll have to excuse me. I've been battling a cold for the past couple days, so if I sound a little nasally, that's why. Um, so Dana and I were to research columnists, and we decided to research one columnist from Iowa and another one from Chicago. So we researched Rekha Basu from the Des Moines Register and Steve Huntley from the Chicago Sun-Times. We learned about the elements of journalism while we were at the workshop, and the elements of journalism consist of many things, along with the code of ethics, which we don't have in here, which is reiterated throughout everything that's in here. So, being a journalist, your first obligation is to the truth, and your first loyalty is to the citizens. You must keep an essence of discipline, of verification, and maintain an independence from coverage. So don't be too close to the story, or else you might want to skew the facts so that it makes it seem like it's going in your favor. Serve as an independent monitor of power and provide a public forum. That way, if a citizen has a question for you, they are able to get in touch with you. You must strive to make the significant interesting and relevant, because sometimes some stories aren't all that much or all that interesting to read. I'm sure we've all read something like that. But a journalist's job is to make it so that the relevant becomes interesting, and whether it's dry or not, you still want to read it. Keep news comprehensible and proportionate, and exercise conscience. So put something that you would be happy to read out there. There are also rights and responsibilities of citizens. So citizens have the right to believe that the journalist has correct information and must approach news with an open mind. So whether you have a bias or not, you must go to this column or this article or whatever you're reading and understand, or at least want to understand, the other side of it. Citizens should be able to see evidence and be able to have their answers or their questions answered. And citizens can expect that journalists are serving the citizens, which is a journalist's job. Citizens may expect monitoring of powerful companies and government officials. You should always expect there to be a public forum. That way, no matter what, you have a way to get in touch with the news provider. And citizens should have the right to expect journalists to be timely in their news distribution. So if you're covering the election, don't post something after the election. Dana will now talk about the check process, which is something that we went through, and I'm sure Sarah and Chris went through quite a bit too.
We learned a lot about check at News Know How when we went the program. We learned a lot about it. The C for check stands for Confirm Your Information Neighborhood. So is it news, opinion, raw info, or propaganda? Who is it created by, and for what purpose? So whatever you're reading, whatever you're listening to, whatever you're watching, you need to have check in your mind at all times. The H in check is to have high standards for credibility. Are there many credible sources such as fact check or Politico? And is there a bias in the story? Is the writer trying to persuade you, but you just haven't realized it? The E in check is to ensure that the information has been verified. Who is it produced by? Is it reliable? You need to check reliability, which is very important in anything that you read. C in check is to consider responsible next steps. So if you find an error and you've researched it and you found a reliable source to correct it, do you call up the radio station? Do you leave a comment on the blog? This is what you decide to do for the next step to help correct the error. The K in check is to know what you can believe and ask critical questions. So fairness, balance, citations, or defense.
Along with check, you must know the do's and don'ts of opinion writing. So this is mainly for those columnists that do opinion writing, but can also be used by news consumers to understand if the columnist went through this process. So when you're writing an opinion article, you must know what your purpose is. Are you trying to persuade someone, or are you just trying to give the information from your side? Don't take too many issues in one piece, or don't take on too many issues in one piece, excuse me. One example that I have is this year we had some issues at school with new lunches. We had our one-to-one program, which we all have our computers lined up over there. I'm sure we don't ever get off of them. And we had some new teachers as well. So if you are writing a news piece about this, you need to make sure not to take it all on at once, or else it will get confusing, especially if it's an opinion piece. And sometimes taking on one gets in the way of being timely with your news, so sometimes you have to sacrifice more news for the understanding of news. You must stay focused while writing an opinion piece and know your audience. Are you trying to aim this at someone who is liberal-leaning or conservative-leaning? Capture attention and end strongly. Be clear and easy to follow. Like I said, opinion columns can be sort of hard to follow. They jump all over the place sometimes. Present supporting information. Have your citations with you. That is something that I have found a lot with opinion columns, is that there are sometimes little to no citations on them. Don't present generalizations or be absolute. So don't say this is how it is, this is how it will always be. There are a lot of opinion writing do's and don'ts, so bear with me. Disprove opposite views, or at least acknowledge their existence. Don't get personal, overly emotional, condescending, or too sarcastic. Opinion writing is still your opinion, so you are able to still add that little bit of oomph to it. Don't be boring, be bright, aggressive, and fun. The shorter the better. If it's too long, it might seem like a rant, which is something that you don't want your opinion piece to be. Be timely, like we said earlier. Be civil, or else, like we said, it could be a rant. Back up with research. Write in the third person. Don't rant, and don't use inappropriate language. It wouldn't be published if you did. Dana and I have some examples of our columnists that we were following. So Dana's going to talk about Steve Huntley.
I have read a lot about Steve Huntley. I've read a lot of his work for several weeks now, ever since we got home from Des Moines. And he's a conservative-leaning opinion writer working with Chicago Sun-Times. He has a lot of great pieces and a lot of solid facts, but sometimes he does slip up. And for example, he said that during Obama's time as president, he created 4.5 million jobs. And in fact, it was only 4 million. And there's only very few sort of errors like that, but if there are many errors in one piece, it can give misinterpretation, and people can take things out of context, and it can snowball from there. So getting your facts straight from the start is extremely important.
Rekha Basu is the liberal-leaning Des Moines Register opinion columnist, and I think, like Sarah said, even the liberal-leaning people make mistakes as well. So one of the issues that I came across with Miss Basu's writing is there was an article where she stated that when Obama took office in 2008, they were losing approximately 750,000 jobs per month, when in reality, according to EPI.org, which is a reliable source, it was 82,000 from the first quarter, and then kept going to the fourth quarter, where it was 510,000 jobs. Another columnist that Dana and I both have researched together is Kathy Obradovich, who is also from the Des Moines Register and is a very unbiased columnist, and Dana's going to talk a little more about her.
So originally we thought, okay, we're researching different columnists to follow, and we found Kathy. And we researched her, and we read a lot of her columns, but we could not find a single piece that we could figure out which one was more conservative or liberal. So she is a stand-up columnist who is basically living proof of the elements of journalism and the code of ethics, which we thought she does very fantastic work. Also, some fact-checking sites, if you ever see anything that you think is sort of suspicious, or you just want to read up about the election or anything of that nature, go to factcheck.org, which we use a lot. It is a great site. It is completely unbiased, and it gives us the information we need. Washington Post Fact Checker, PolitiFact.com, RumorsCheck.com, Snoops.com, and Politico.com are all very reliable sources, which are great for any time you want to check up on facts.
Now back to Dana and I's project, like we said earlier, our job was to follow two columnists, and we decided that instead we were going to create a blog about all of it and put our reviews of these columns on it. So that is called Sleepy Hedgehog Publications, which is a story from the project when we were in Des Moines. We were learning how to use a video editing software called Camtasia, and we created a video, and we wanted some sort of a name to go along with it, so we created Sleepy Hedgehog Productions and then changed it to Publications. So if you want more information about that, you could go to www.sleepyhedgehogpublications.wordpress.com, and I will show you our site. So this is the site. As we keep going, we're going to add more and more, so if you want to start checking in on that, probably every other day, within the next few months we will have, or next few weeks, we will have quite a few more on here. Also, we have already 3 comments and a like on some of our posts, which was very exciting when it happened. It was a couple hours after we had actually posted them, so we got really excited about that. And now I'm going to invite Chris and Sarah back up to talk about more information about the News Literacy Project.
All right, so if you want to know more about Dana and Josh's blog, you can visit it. But if you want to learn more about the News Literacy Project itself, you can follow @TheNewsLP on Twitter, like the News Know How Watchdog group on Facebook, which provides a lot of information. I know we all received so much information from that group, and it was great. And you can also check out the newsliteracyproject.org, and on there you can do a bunch of different things. You can donate to the program, and you can learn about a lot about different things, I guess. So, yeah, thank you for watching, and we're going to open up for questions now if anyone has any.